Hello, 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 Comics Launch. This is Tyler James, and I'm excited to jump on here and because I have a special guest for all of you today. This is my guest today is a writer, artist, and comic book creator who is playing in the world of cyberpunk and sci-fi and weird fiction. He is trained as a graphic designer and trained as a painter at the National Art School in Sydney, Australia. And his current online home, where you can find out more about his projects, is threefoldcomics.com, where he has some cool downloads that you can get. He's recently launched his very first Kickstarter project, which is called Break Run, and is the world's first full-length glow-in-the-dark comic, which is already fully funded and on to stretch goal territory with a couple of weeks to go. So welcome to Comics Launch, Nima Afshar. How are you doing, Nima?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show, Tyler. It's great to be
Awesome,
here.
man. Yeah, it's good to chat with you and see you again. You know, we've worked together inside the Comics Launch Mastermind and on Comics Launch Pro, but it's exciting to have you on here now as someone with a funded Kickstarter under your belt. And I know you've been working hard over the past year to put all the pieces in place for this launch. But you know, now that it's live, funded, and getting a strong reaction, like, how does it feel, man?
Oh, it feels incredible. I mean, well, firstly, I just got to say thanks for putting Comics Launch together. And there's no way I would be in this position if it wasn't for what you've done at Comics Launch and the Mastermind group and all the cool people that I've met and have been workshopping these ideas with. I mean, no way I'd be at this point.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. But you know what's great about the Comics Launch community is, you know, I've shared what I've done, and I've shared step-by-steps and everything, but every creator will literally come in and put their own fresh spin on the principles that we teach over here. And so, you know, a glow-in-the-dark comic, full-length glow-in-the-dark comic. Give us some details about that. What is it? How does one even create something like this? How'd you come up with the idea for it? And why was this something that you needed to create and have it be the first thing that you bring out to the world in your sort of big Kickstarter debut? Give us the details behind Break Run.
So what's that saying? Bad artists copy, good artists steal. You know, Jim Rugg, who was on your show from Cartoonist Kayfabe. I mean, he did last year, 2020. He launched the world's first blacklight comic. No one had ever done a comic with the blacklight inks. And I just was so inspired by that idea. I just thought it was the coolest thing. And I remember, actually, I think the comics launcher for the show where you interviewed him was, or it might have been another one, was if you can come up with an idea, a unique idea, a novel idea that no one's ever done, you know, what would you come up with? Or it might have been a comics launch workshop. And I thought, you know, no one's ever, I mean, I used to read the Spectre, well, I used to see the covers of the Spectre back in the 90s. One of my old school friends used to read it, and that had glow in the dark on the covers. And I thought, man, I asked my friend, I said, does it have glow in the dark on the inside? And he said, no. So I think it was in the back of my mind, you know, for years. So I thought when I was going to do this project, I thought, what's going to add another dimension to this project? And then being someone that's, I mean, I've been making comics for a long time. This is the first thing I'm releasing, my first original project.
Yeah.
But I thought, how can I not just use it as a gimmick, but also use it to add a layer of storytelling to the project?
And so yeah, that's you know, I think I'm just getting a little transfixed here by I pulled up the animated GIF that had on your Kickstarter, and that is sort of one of the challenges of doing something that people have never seen before. Is how do you visualize glow in the dark on a medium that's not where it's not going to be able to glow in the dark? And so, you know, one of the things that you have on your site, you can use the video, you can use an animated GIF that you use pretty effectively to sort of showcase an example of how glow in the dark can be used in here. But how are you seeing that sort of enhance or just support the storytelling? Like what's the high concept of Break Run, and how does the sort of unique or gimmick, if you want to use the lowbrow term for it, but how does that reinforce the story that you're trying to tell here in the book that you're trying to work on?
Yeah, so for Break Run, the high concept, there was this guy Branko. He's part of a militia in this post-apocalyptic sort of environment. It's a colony in distant space, and they've already had nuclear war. I mean, because what's going to happen when humanity populates the galaxy? As soon as they do that, they're going to start blowing each other up on other planets.
Yeah.
So they're recovering. They're in a desperate situation, and his commander, kills all these miners, and they take all their resources. And he says, "Well, I'm leaving. I can't support this." So he's living in the city as a tracker. 10 years later, and he gets the calls like it's happening again. We've got, and he realizes that he has to get out there and stop it. So there's elements of Mad Max. There's elements of Akira. Of my favorite samurai films like Goyurkin and Seven Samurai. And basically, he's a man on a mission. But the commander's put a bounty on his head. So he has to deal with all these bounty hunters that are chasing him and trackers, and he's got to get back and try to do the right thing. And as far as the glow in the dark element, I wanted to use it to represent the unseen world. So there are, like in Buddhist mythology, there are these things called devas, which are like spirits that support us and help us, and they try to guide us towards enlightenment and just try to live the right, do the right thing. And then you've got Mara, which is like devils and demons, and they're trying to pull us down into the underworld. And there's that old thing about when you start to purify your mind, or if you're a good person, you see this in Christian mythology. You see there the main character has got a halo around his head. Yeah. Because he's a pure person, he's a good person, he's trying to live the right way. And you even see it in Hellboy. Sometimes different characters have like a little crown above their head. So I'm just pulling in all these different elements, but I just thought it would be a lot of fun to do that. And I love physical objects. I love books. I mean, I've got so many books on my bookshelf, and I love collecting. And you could do a digital comic, sure. You could do an animated comic, but that stuff isn't really that interesting for me. And I thought, do something new, do something different. Yeah. What's the hook? This is just the hook. The glow in the dark is a hook, and I hope people think it's cool. But more important than that, I think the story, I think it's a good story.
Well, it's going to be fun. It's going to be the kind of thing, from what I can see, that, you're going to go ahead and read it like any other comic. But then you're going to flip off the lights and see things that you didn't see highlighted through using the ink. But okay, so walk me through it. You sort of had the idea that you wanted to do a comic with a hook. You've got a story that you've been wanting to tell. It's sort of in alignment with the work that you want to be known for. But what was the next step to being like, okay, great, glow in the dark comic, world's first one. How the heck do we make this happen? And so what did how did you get a crash course on glow in the dark ink and how to actually pull that together in the form of a comic? What are the challenges there?
Oh man, I've got to say, it was really hard. I just had to work it out myself because no one's ever done it. I couldn't just look up a website and this is how you put your glow in the dark comic together. But basically, I just started speaking to printers. I started to do research on the inks and how it works. And to be honest with you, Tyler, like most of the printers either knocked me back or gave me quotes that were so expensive. It's like no one is going to back, a 60-page comic that cost, $40 or $50. It's not happening.
Yeah.
But basically, I found a printer that was willing to work with me, and they'd been amazing. And they said, look, what we're going to do, we're going to print it in CMYK. It'll have to be thicker paper, slightly glossy, and we'll have to silk screen the luminous ink on every page. So the quote shot up straight away because I asked for a quote, and they thought I just meant like one layer of blacklight inks. Like, I was like, no, I need the glow in the dark inks. And just on that note, before I forget, I just wanted to say, if anyone's planning on doing a glow in the dark comic, freight, just keep freight in mind, because the the pages are much heavier. Your book is going to be much heavier than a regular 60-page square bound or even a 30-page book.
So do you know what the weight of your book is going to be?
Yeah, but over 200, about almost 300 grams, which is, I think, what's that, 4.5 ounces, something like that.
Okay. So,
but it pushed me up into the next weight class. Like I was like, oh man, I'm just going to be able to scrape it in under the line.
Yeah.
If I didn't check the weight and get that right, the campaign would have been dead, before it even,
Yeah, that is it's one of the things that is a frustration of a lot of creators. We had a creator in our community that sort of posted a frantic post that was basically something to the effect of, please tell me there's a cheaper way to ship a couple of comics internationally for less than $25. And the short answer is, unfortunately, no, there's not. Right now, at least. But you're shipping from Australia, and that's a whole different thing. There's some places that are actually going to be less expensive for you to ship to, some places more. I see we do have a bunch of folks that are watching us live, so I will also say if you want to jump in and ask any questions of Nima on this, because he's doing something that most of us never even thought of doing, let alone taking it on board. So please keep the questions coming. So in terms of shipping, we did have a question from Jose Pereira, who says, are you shipping to Mexico? And so is that a country that you are shipping to during this Kickstarter?
Yeah, I'm shipping to every country. I'm not discriminating. Everyone's welcome to back the project. The thing is, at the $20 Australian pledge level, it's full shipping, and it's discounted shipping in the US. It's all normal shipping over there, $10, and in Australia $10. But if you get the $50 pledge level, I'm discounting the shipping worldwide. And you'll get a sketch and a signature in the book. And that's been a very popular pledge level.
Yeah. I mean, a nice thing about this being your first Kickstarter, and also you being a talented artist in addition to writer, and someone that's really trying to, do well with your first launch, doing quick sketches or remarks. I think we'll probably talk about doing remarks on some of your prints that you're doing, is a great way to just add more value to the campaign, and add more funding from your backers as well.
Yeah, you can see a couple of examples of the sketches that I do, and I think they're pretty good quality. Just after the art there, you just see them there, and I think they come out quite nicely. So I've been surprised actually at how many people have chosen that level. Pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
So that's the most. And if you choose that level in the US or in Australia, you get free shipping, which is even better. So I think it's really good value. Plus, the early backers got an A3 print that came with the book, which turned out really nice. And the stretch goal that I'm about to announce, we're very close to it, actually, 10,000. When we get to 10,000 Australian dollars, everyone's going to get an A4 print, and I'm doing a fan print of Kaneda from Akira. So,
question about the printer that you ultimately work with. Is this a local printer or a small printer, or how did you called around, you got a lot of answers that you didn't like, but you ultimately landed on one that was going to work for you?
So I found a printer in China, and one of my pledge levels, which is actually, I think, very reasonable. Let me just scroll down to it. At the radioactive tier, which is 115 AUD, Australian dollars. I think it's about 85 US. I'm going to be giving sending out a 30-minute printing and design training video, and sharing all of the knowledge. I mean, it took me 2-3 weeks just to come up with this idea, work out how to print it. I got samples from the printer as well, which I learned a lot from. And I'll also be giving a formal introduction to the printer. So if anyone out there is keen on doing a glow in the dark comic, I mean, people can search, and I'm sure there's a few different organizations. But it's quite hard for me to find this one, and I was really happy with them. So that's kind of the bait. And I wouldn't have come up with that tier unless it was for the comics launch training.
People were asking for you, asking about it. Yeah.
Because you said that you were like, what's a tier you can add to your project that is totally unique that no one else can do? And initially I had that tier at like $500. And I was workshopping it with my good friend James Powell, who's a legend, who does the House of Fear comics. And he's like, oh man, you should probably just charge $400. That's a bit high. And I bought it way down because I think, like, actually that's probably a bit selfish. Make it accessible. At that tier, you also get a risograph print. You get the comic with a signature and a sketch in it, so you can see how it all works.
Yeah,
it's basically like a mini workshop in how to do a glow in the dark comic.
Yeah, at a price like that, it makes it so that the people that are going to be most interested in that tier are going to be other creators like you, and creators can sort of justify that as an investment, because let's be honest, you go and learn this, and then you go make a couple of limited edition prints that you can then go sell that are glow in the dark prints. Maybe you don't even do it as a comic, but if you learn sort of how to set up your files and get it rocking and rolling for a limited edition glow in the dark print or something to that effect, that could be really cool. And
depending on how many you're doing, Tyler.
Yeah.
Like for glow in the dark print, if you search online, like I found a lot of places that would just do a print for you.
Yeah.
And technically, the reason why I branded this as a glow in the dark, the world's first full length glow in the dark. Well, as you know, people have done, like in the 90s, we had all the foil covers and embossed covers and glow in the dark.
Glow in the dark on the covers is the thing. I actually have not done glow in the dark on a cover yet. I've created a glow in the dark plush, but no glow in the dark covers yet.
That's cool. Yeah, especially for Cthulhu. I mean, glow in the dark plush is perfect. I think unless you had a decent quantity, and I mean, absolutely, this printer will probably get you a very good price on prints, glow in the dark, if you just got to do prints or poster prints. I mean, there was another person when I was Googling this and doing the research who has done a one-page poster glow in the dark comic. So technically, they were the first person to do a glow in the dark comic, with sequentials, but no one's ever done a full-length comic because it's really hard to do. And the reason I also wanted to share that tier was because it was really hard, man. Like I spent weeks just figuring out how to do this and talking to different people. And I mean, time is money. If you can save time and save the stress and the headaches, I mean, that's a very small investment. If someone has that idea and wants to add another dimension to the project, I reckon it's a giveaway almost.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to switch gears for a second because, I know, in knowing your story, one of the things that really helped you sort of move from comics fan to comics creator, and start building a following and just a name for yourself in the industry was actually creating a fan comic. Can you sort of talk a little bit about your comic Black? What was it a fan comic of? Why did you do it? What did creating that sort of do for you?
Yeah, so that was awesome. That was the first thing that I kind of released to the public. I'd made comics before that, but they weren't very good. But I had this idea. I was inspired by Daniel Warren Johnson, who did a really awesome comic called Green Leader, where he took a character from the Star Wars universe and just told like a 12-page silent comic. I definitely recommend people, if you haven't already seen it, Google that, Green Leader. It's a beautiful comic. I mean, Daniel Warren Johnson is just a phenomenal artist. And it's totally silent. And it's so emotional. Like there's a gut punch at the end that'll really hit you. And I found, I thought, I'm going to try something like that just to dip my toe in the water. And then I can also use it as a resume. I could send it to Dark Horse, who at the time were publishing Aliens. I can send it to Marvel, who are publishing Star Wars, and 2000 AD, who are publishing Strontium Dog.
So this was an Alien, Star Wars, Strontium Dog mashup.
Exactly.
That you created, and yeah. So tell me more. So,
Yeah, so you can also read it free if you go to Threefold Comics. You can download a high quality PDF. But basically, what I wanted to do was combine those universes. I thought it would be really cool to do like, a crossover. And I love the Stormtrooper design, so it was an excuse to draw a bunch of Stormtroopers and Boba Fett, of course.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to exercise my storytelling muscles, and like that famous silent issue of G.I. Joe, tell a story without any words. Can you tell a story that has some sort of a resonance and emotional impact without using dialogue? And experimenting, and also it's actually, it may not seem like it on the surface, but it's actually a very personal story, because the main character, the avatar for me in the character is the Strontium Dog character, who's wearing Shore Trooper armor, and he's got this flamethrower arm, and he keeps trying to use this flamethrower. He's got aliens coming at him, and it just the gun's jammed, and it's not working. And finally, spoilers, by the end of the comic, he's face to face with Boba Fett, and he just tries it one more time, and he gets it to work. And I felt like that was a metaphor for my comic career. I just kept trying and failing, and no one was interested, and editors would knock me back, and portfolio reviews, you just get turned away or whatever. And so it was just a metaphor for like, just don't give up, just keep trying, just keep pushing. So it was just a fun way to combine a bunch of stuff. I mean, I sent it out to publishers. I didn't get any nibbles. I probably should have done the Todd McFarlane and sent out 130. Maybe someone would have responded, but
yeah.
But now you got Kickstarter, right? They're going to just back yourself, Well,
that's right. And sometimes getting in motion is the most important thing. And I'm sort of working on a new project now, and it's and with an artist, and I think we're both sort of in the like he just wants to write, or he just wants to draw, I just want to write. But there is this whole like world building thing, and this whole like, well, if you want this to be good, there's probably some research that needs to be done, and just all this stuff that goes into it. And whereas, if what you really want is to get some momentum and draw some comics and get and just get moving, it kind of helps to jump into a universe and play with some toys that already exist in a world that's already established and that you already love. So I would say for anyone out there that has been running their head against the wall for trying to create their own new thing from scratch, if the goal is to just start getting some panels under your belt, playing in somebody else's universe, even if it's never going to be something that you're going to launch because you don't own the IP or all of that, may actually be a good thing to do.
That's an excellent point, Tyler. Like, really, I'm really glad you raised that. Yeah, I mean, that was part of it. Is like, I didn't need to design these characters and design the monster, and you got the perfect monster design in an alien anyway. But the only caveat I would put is that I pushed this out, and what was great was that it got me on the map in Australia. Like, I gave Ryan K. Lindsay a copy, and he was really thrilled, and he actually bought the first page of original art from me from this comic, which is super cool. And Ryan, he's such a great hype man. If you got Ryan on your side,
yeah,
people are gonna get excited about your work and find out about it. So that was super cool, and I connected with other creators here. But internationally, I would say if you want to do a fan comic and use it as a calling card, I think you need to be a lot more aggressive and proactive in getting it out into editors' hands, because I didn't get a peep from anyone really, as far as using this as a resume to get work for hire, which is fine. It's worked out now because I'm doing my own comic, and
right,
it's all good.
Yeah, so it might not be a resume to get work from hire, but it gave you something that you could put in the hands of the creators that are making things happen, and you were able to then use that connection to get pull quotes or endorsements for the stuff that you launched down the line. So that's definitely a cool approach.
Absolutely.
So one thing that I know can be a challenge, or something that a lot of creators want to do, but they're not quite sure how to do it, is selling original art in your campaign. How are you doing that? How are you? How did you decide to make original art available during your campaign and sell those original pieces?
Yeah, well, I just was brainstorming the different tiers. I mean, some have been more successful than others. Um, One really cool thing was, and actually a popular tier has been I'll just bring it up, uh, the production art, because there's, you know what it's like when you do these projects, Tyler. You create all these drafts and character
Mhm.
designs and stuff like that, and at quite a low price point, I included those as a pledge level, the freelance tier. So that was really cool. Um, but with the pages, I think maybe I priced them a little bit high. So I've actually just brought the prices down for the manga size pages and the A3 pages, and I think the art looks really nice. So we'll see if any of those move. I mean, and I'm quite happy with the work, so I don't mind if I don't sell too many of those.
Yeah.
But what I did do was include the classic Kickstarter thing where you draw you can draw someone into the book. So for original art, I've got a couple of tiers that have been quite popular. I've moved 5 of those where I'm going to have a little gallery of bounty hunters in the inside back cover. So I'll draw a backer and make them look really cool, like a cool bounty hunter, and pop them in the gallery there, and then they get to own the original art. Or for the actual pages, I'll be drawing the backer in as, as like someone riding a hover bike, or and at the higher level tier, I'm telling a little 4-page story at the end of the comic, the Ronin tier, and in that I'm not only going to draw the backer in to the page, and I'm going to draw the backer into the page, but also work with them to kind of come up with the story and how they want to be, like what they want to do on the page, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit more interactive.
That's cool. That's cool. And I think that's a good tip for those of you that are out there and would love to do something creative, like draw backers into your stories, but aren't sure quite how to pitch it. I think leaving it completely open-ended doesn't do enough to sell the opportunity. But when you can do stuff like, hey, want to be a bounty hunter in this book? $125 will get you that plus a whole lot more. Like that's an easier sell, and it puts images in people's mind of, hey, this would be really cool to do. So I definitely think that's a good approach, and having a couple of different options for creators is cool. So nice job on that. I also know that you're doing some interesting stuff with risograph printing. It's not something that I know too much about. Why is that something that you're choosing for your prints, and can you talk a little bit about why creators might want to consider going that route for printing?
Yeah, so risograph is an amazing technology. It's sort of like a cross between screen printing and photocopying. And there's a really cool co-op in Sydney called Risaria, and it's great. You can put your order in with them, and they'll print the thing up. Or you can go in there. Actually, you book a block of time, and then you just pay to make the plates. It's and then there's an example as well of a risograph print. It's you basically print one color at a time. So it's almost like doing a photocopy, but then you choose a different the different colors, and you can choose amazing inks too. They're soy-based inks. So with that particular image that you've got up of the main character,
Yeah.
it's just 2 colors, a fluoro pink and a blue, and they just look amazing. And what's great about the risograph printer is that it's sort of like an imperfect technology, like screen printing. So you're not going to get an identical print. So each one is slightly different. It's slightly unique. And they just look really amazing when you hold them and just look at them. There's an organic quality which is really lovely.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a good opportunity for creators to sell the print as opposed to just treating it as like a generic thing that all prints are created equal. Having choosing a print technology, or whether it's the stock or the approach that you're taking, can add a ton of value to it. I just got these in from. This is the first time I'm rocking metal prints. Let me just switch my camera here real quick. But these just came in from the Wailing Blade. So this is actually it's a piece of freaking metal.
Wow.
And so these are something that we offered in the Kickstarter campaign as sort of an add-on. And I'm actually blown away. I'll be sending a couple of these to one to Joe and one to Rich, and then we've got our backers that got a few of them as well. But definitely something that you can charge more of a premium for, and just are a really cool addition to a Kickstarter offering.
Yeah, that print looks amazing. It looks like a heavy metal album cover.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that we'll ever do a book more metal than Wailing Blade. So the metal print was apropos, I think. So cool. So, anything else that has sort of surprised you, or that lessons that you've learned? You spent a lot of time preparing for this launch and getting into it, but is there anything in particular that surprised you about just this Kickstarter launch, and that you're learning, this being your first launch and all?
Oh, so many surprises. Just the learning curve is pretty steep.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just trying to play catch up every day. But what actually surprised me was what was cool. I've done an Akira giveaway, which is still running. You can win. This was basically the viral campaign that got the comic off the ground, which has been amazing. But what I found is that it's been really inspiring me as well, and inspiring some of my stretch goals. So I never thought about doing Akira fan art as an add-on to the project, but it just came to me while I was trying to come up with stretch goals. Do some fan prints of Kaneda, the main character, on the bike. And for the digital copy of the book, I'm going to do a little gallery of fan art from the main characters. Sort of a love letter to Akira, which is so iconic for me. I'm kind of obsessed with this comic, with the manga. I'm obsessed with the anime. It's a really cool giveaway. So that surprised me a lot. Yeah,
and it looks like this giveaway will be going for another 17 days or so. So after you hear this on the podcast, it'll still be live. So if you go over to 3, that's the number 3 spelled out, or excuse me, that's the letters 3 spelled out. I should know that. My boy is turning 3 this Sunday. And he's just figured out like how to hold up 3 fingers. It took him a little while to figure out the best way to do it. You forget that those little fingers don't have the dexterity that we have. But yeah, go to threefoldcomics.com, and there's a link to this Akira giveaway that people can enter as well. So awesome. Good to check that out. Well,
and the only other thing before I forget is I think for this, I think I've surprised a few people when I announced this. I wasn't trying to hide this project. I mean, the only person that knew about this was James. And the reason why was because, to be honest with you, I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if I could do it. I didn't know if I had a printer that would agree. So I didn't want to say to the mastermind group or to other people in Comics Launch, hey, I'm going to do this Glow in the Dark comic. It's going to be awesome. And then 3 months later, people are like, hey, so what happened with that Glow in the Dark comic? Or even worse, as soon as I announced it on the Comics Launch group, another fellow Comics Launch Facebook member said, oh, damn, I was going to do a Glow in the Dark comic. You beat me to it. Because you're only going to get one chance to be the world's first.
That's right.
full-length Glow in the Dark comic, right? So I think if you have a novel idea, play your cards close to the vest. Make sure you know you can do it. then announce it, because loose lips should sink ships. Even if other people had just talked about it and without wanting to spoil the idea or steal it or whatever, someone else might have heard it, and So I just think play it cool.
Yeah. And what's nice about this book, though, is that even though the glow in the dark element is unique, and the book itself, in terms of the style, the genre, the world that you're playing in, those are sort of all in alignment with the fan base and the audience that you've been cultivating. So yeah, keeping that glow in the dark angle quiet probably made sense for this one, especially if you weren't sure whether or not this was going to be something that you'd be able to pull off. Well, that's awesome, Nima. I want to jump in and give you a shot at the comics launch speed round, if you're up for it.
Oh yeah, I love the speed round. Yeah, awesome. I was hoping you'd ask.
Hey, not a problem at all. All right, finish this sentence. Kickstarter is blank.
Freaking amazing.
Love it. However, if you could change one thing about the Kickstarter platform, if the powers that be at Kickstarter were listening, what would you tell them that the one thing that you would change about the platform would be?
I'd love to be able to get freight out of the equation. For this project, this was really tearing my hair out. I was working with the spreadsheet that you've got on the comics launch, which will absolutely save this project and help me actually get it together. But I spent days. It was so stressful working freight out because I had to work in the Stripe fees and Kickstarter fees. 10%. I'm charging backers more for freight, and it's more expensive from Australia and all this. So what I came up with was, and thank you for giving me the hooking me up, but Backer Kit allows you to add freight after the campaign. So some of my pledge levels, freight is free. But for a lot of them, it's not free, and I'll be calculating that after the fact in Backer Kit. And I've been very transparent about that.
Yep.
So it would be great if we were able to do that. But anyway.
Yeah. And, the farther out before when you're going to ship, the more it makes sense to if you decide to do it, to do that, because, shipping rates have been in flux worldwide, more so now than, lately than ever before. So that's definitely something to think about. Cool. Question number 3, what's your secret weapon? Meaning a tool, a resource, an app that you couldn't make comics without.
Clip Studio and the iPad Pro, or any tablet, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be an iPad, but Clip Studio on a tablet, on a graphics tablet, sped up my production immensely.
Awesome. Promotion is an area that a lot of Kickstarter creators struggle. Do you have any promotion tips for listeners?
Be persistent. Just put yourself out there. I mean, for me, I actually connected with some other creators online, and just, I wasn't trying to market or connect or anything, but I was trying to basically convince Brendan McCarthy to start a Patreon. He's the co-creator of Mad Max Fury Road and a Judge Dredd artist. He's a legend in comics. And as it happens, he saw my email address, which had Threefold Comics. He looked at the art and said, "This work is great." And I said, "Oh, can I use that for a pull quote?" And he said, No, I'll do one better. And he wrote me this awesome pull quote, which I've been using ad nauseum for this campaign.
Really?
So I would say just put yourself out there, and don't be afraid to ask for pull quotes or approach other creators, because having a pull quote like that can add social proof to your project. And just put yourself out there. Contact journalists. Who cares if you get rejected? I mean, I never thought I'd see my review, this comic, on CBR and on ComicsBeat, which are two of my favorite comics news sites. So, which is unbelievable. And it's just through contacting people, and just don't fear rejection. Put yourself out there.
Definitely. And finally, can you recommend one comic or book not done by you that more people need to check out?
Yes, absolutely. Wintermen by Brett Lewis and John Paul Leone was published by Wildstorm in the early aughts, mid-aughts. It is the most incredible book. Unfortunately, I don't know why Wildstorm won't reprint it, but whenever I find a secondhand copy, I buy it as a gift for friends. But it has the most incredible art. You can get a trade paperback. The single issues are pretty cheap, but it is such a cool comic. It's set in Russia, and it's kind of like an Watchmen set in Russia, sort of post superhero sort of story, and it's really cool. It's super. The art is phenomenal.
Nice. Yeah. Wildstorm was putting out some cool stuff in those days, and yeah, but I had not checked out that one, so I'll have to add it to my deep cut list.
Oh yeah, you won't regret it, man.
Well, this has been awesome, Nima. I've enjoyed hanging out with you and seeing this project do so well. Do you have one final piece of advice for creators out there? Maybe they've been sort of sitting on the sidelines, not yet launching on Kickstarter, but hope to do it. Maybe this year's the year.
Yeah, well, that was last year was the year I made the commitment, and it sort of spilled over into this year, but at least the project's off the ground now. Just go for it. Like if you have the idea, just go for it. And what I would say is don't wait too long, because I felt like this was bubbling in the ether, and I felt like if I didn't put this Glow in the Dark comic out now, someone else would have done it. Someone else would have been inspired by Jim Rugg, and then I'd be sitting on the sidelines thinking, damn, I was going to do the world's first Glow in the Dark full-length comic, and someone else has done it now because I waited too long, and I didn't get off the bench. So just get in the game, get off the bench, get in the game, and who cares if you get injured? Who cares if you look like a fool on the court? Like, just get out there and go for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of creators that I talk to, especially young ones or new ones that never put a book out before, and they tell like all of their questions are around protecting their IP, protecting their ideas, trademarks and copyrights and this and that and legal fees and all this stuff. And it's like, come on, man. You're putting the cart before the horse. You want to know the best way to make sure no one steals your idea? It's actually launch it, get it out into the world. Don't be second.
Well, look at all the webcomics, right? That totally kick ass on Kickstarter. I mean, they're all people that are doing webcomics for years. They've got a fan base. It's out there. The work is out there.
Absolutely. So hopefully, 2021, we're still in this weird pandemic and global just unrest and all that stuff. But let's knock on wood, assume the world resumes to normal by the end of the year. What are you most excited about? Just sort of end of 2021 or second half of the year when the world gets back to normal.
Oh, man, it'd be so great to, once we've all had the vaccines and they've worked out how to do conventions and stuff, it'd be really cool to hit the road and meet and hook up with other creators and to meet fans and socially distance, of course.
Yeah.
Plenty of hand sanitizer, but it'd be great to be able to sell this comic, at conventions and connect with fans. Would be really cool.
Oh man, yeah, that will be a gangbuster on the convention circuit. So for those of you, anyone that can't grab it on the Kickstarter, which you definitely should, but hopefully conventions will open up in Australia. I know you have a good scene there, and who knows, maybe even take it on the road internationally at some point. But
yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. So the book is Break Run. It's on Kickstarter right now. It's from Nima Afshar, and you're going to definitely want to check that out. Besides the Kickstarter and threefoldcomics.com, Nima, best place for people to engage with you?
Yeah, just you can follow me on the socials. I'm at Threefold Comics on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So yeah, I'm pretty easy to find.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you sharing some time during your launch to share some of your insights, and keep pushing the envelope and making cool stuff.
Oh, thanks so much, Tyler. Like as I said before, this wouldn't happen without Comics Launch and the awesome community. You and Bill and Clay who do Comics Launch and all the other awesome people. So yeah, no, it's thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I will also, accept that on behalf of all the other amazing people inside the community that make it what it is. So thanks for that, though. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we can't wait to see what you all launch next as well. Take care.